Oh, hi, Mark. Okay. Yeah, excuse the zoomed back shot and the fact that I had to go up there and hunch over and all, but the couch has been moved a little bit backwards. Say hello to Bowser, he loves you. Say hello to Quinn, she loves you too, but she's not so good at showing it like Bowser is. Look at the little fella. Look at him. Anyway, so, first of all, I want to say something. My nerd room, oh my god. Oh, you're shedding. You're shedding. My nerd room has gotten a big upgrade. And by big upgrade, I mean, don't you chew on my hand while I'm trying to record stuff. Don't you do that. Yeah, it's okay. He playfully chews and we let him. Except for guests. We don't. Buddy, why do you do that? Exclusively in front of the camera. As soon as he gets in front of the camera, he's like, I'm gonna lick my friggin' empty sack, dude. Stop it. Damn it. That's a sentence I never thought that I'd say in my life, but here we are. The Lord works in mysterious ways, I think is what they say. Anyway, so I've gotten like a bunch of new posters up in the nerd room here, and eventually, sometime soon, I want to go around and just like do a nerd room tour. I have to get things a little more clean than they currently are, because I just have random crap laying around. Also, excuse the Superman shirts. I've been wearing a lot of them recently because I'm in kind of a comic book kick, and they're like the only superhero shirts I own. I think I have a couple of Batman ones, and that's pretty much it. I don't even know where the Batman ones are. But anyway, yeah, there's a good boy. There's a good boy. So the Trilogy of Trilogies, this is going to be the final part. Part 3, if you will. You might be able to guess that. So the last video we covered Italian trilogies. We covered Argento's Three Mothers trilogy, Argento's Animal trilogy, and Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy. The trilogy before that, the video before that, we covered some classic trilogies, the Evil Dead trilogy, the Romero Dead trilogy, and Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. In this video, I thought it only right that we cover 3 New Age horror trilogies, and there will be a couple of honorable mentions as well. So before I even get in to the New Age trilogies here, we're going to talk about the honorable mentions. First of all, Romero's New Dead trilogy. I was going to talk about this as like a primary spot in the video, and then I realized it's been so long since I've seen Romero's New Dead trilogy that it would just be like, yeah, these movies are okay. Yeah, that's sparkling commentary, right, guys? So that's basically why I didn't decide to make it one of the trilogies I talked about more extensively, but it's comprised of Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and Survival of the Dead. I believe in that order, and I like all of those movies. Survival of the Dead is a movie that people hate. I don't think people like Diary of the Dead, and I think people just barely like Land of the Dead. But I like all 3 of them. They're fine. They're not my favorite zombie movies by any means, though. And then the only other honorable mention I have on here is technically not complete yet, but I am frickin' pulling for this movie. I am rooting for it, and that is the Barn trilogy. The Barn is so great. So the Barn Part 1 came out back in 2016, and it's an 80s throwback slasher, just very kind of comedic, sort of stupid, but it's really, really fun. Tonally, it goes for something sort of like The Mutilator, kind of, except slightly less intentionally bad than The Mutilator. Actually, I don't know that The Mutilator is intentionally bad, but slightly less bad than The Mutilator, I should say. And then The Barn Part 2 came out in, I believe, 2022 or 2023. And The Barn Part 2 is incredible. It takes everything The Barn Part 1 does, ramps it up to 11. It is so great, and I really think that you guys should go watch The Barn Part 1 and 2 if you haven't seen it. And I'm really excited for there to be a Barn Part 3. Okay, so New Age trilogies. Right here at the first spot, we have what I think is probably the most popular and obvious pick. Maybe not obvious, but definitely the most popular, or the most beloved, I should say, which is X. Ty West's X trilogy, I would call it a pretty well-rounded trilogy. X is a really great slasher movie, kind of 70s exploitation-ish feeling. I like that movie quite a great deal. And then you have the prequel, which sits in the middle of the X trilogy. It comes out, that's kind of a character study horror film called Pearl, which takes the killer from the first movie, gives her her own origin story sort of movie, and I like it a lot, like horror drama sort of thing. That's a very good movie, probably technically the best film in the trilogy. And then we have Maxine, which is the third film in the trilogy. Personally, Maxine is my favorite of the trilogy. It's a lot of callbacks to Italian giallo films, a lot of interesting, colorful shots, very glitzy and glammy in the way, mostly in the way that it's shot. It's very grimy in the way it depicts Hollywood at that time period. But yeah, I think Maxine is the best, my favorite movie in the trilogy. Not the best, but yeah, I don't have a ton to say about those. And then these are all three slasher trilogies, it occurs to me, and that's actually going to be something I touch on at the end of the video. So the second trilogy is the Halloween trilogy, David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. Opinions vary on these movies by a whole lot. A whole lot. I really like the first David Gordon Green's Halloween. Just Halloween 2018. I think it is a great Halloween movie. I think it's a great slasher movie. I love Halloween 2018. I think that all of the score in that movie is amazing. Specifically, The Shape Hunts Allison is just like, fucking get pumped, brother. That shit, just every time I hear The Shape Hunts Allison, I pump my fist a little bit. I fucking do a dance. I do an Irish jig and smash a beer bottle over my head. I love The Shape Hunts Allison. But the rest of the score is amazing too. The movie looks good. All three of these movies look very good. The cinematography never falters in these movies. The kills in this movie are great. And I know that that's a point of contention among Halloween fans, with some of them being like, kills aren't really Halloween's thing though. Like, you're ruining the movies by making it about the kills. I disagree. I love slasher movie kills. I really like the kills in this movie. You have the jack-o'-lantern kill. You have the great shot, not necessarily a kill, but you have the great shot of Michael's hand being blown apart. You have a few vicious stabbings. It's been a while since I've seen it, and now I'm kind of blanking on a lot of them. But in any case, I like the gorier direction that they went with Halloween 2018. I really love, and it's funny, this was a thing at the time where people were like, it doesn't make any sense that Michael's hunting Laurie since they retconned the whole brother thing. Why would he be hunting her? And it leaves me to wonder whether you actually watched the movie or not, because Michael was not hunting Laurie in Halloween 2018. Didn't happen. Fact check false. Okay, that never happened. Let me break it down for you. Man, I'm a condescending prick, aren't I? Fuck me. But so essentially, Halloween 2018 goes back to, and I'm gonna be getting into like not tone, but themes. It goes back to the theme of something that the original John Carpenter's Halloween explored quite a bit, which is the theme of fate. And they talk a lot about fate in this movie, or maybe they don't talk about it, and I'm more so referencing Carpenter's Halloween. I do not remember, but I think because Carpenter's Halloween was so heavy on the theme of fate, and because Laurie has seemed to intertwine herself intrinsically with Michael Myers, I believe that it is fate that brings them together. And it's stupid when you just say it, but when you explain it, I think it becomes a lot more plausible. Which, when Michael escapes, he doesn't go for Laurie Strode. He just so happens to be walking in a certain direction. He just so happens to stalk Allison at one point. Like, he wasn't going for Allison. He just saw her. He's like a rabid dog, just going after the first person he sees so he can bite it. And eventually, that leads him to Officer Hawkins, who has Dr. Sartain with him, who then lead him to Laurie Strode. It was by no fault of Michael's that he ended up at Laurie's. And Laurie doesn't know that. She thinks that he's hunting her because she's insane. I mean, in this movie, she is very much so, very unstable and mentally ill. But I also love the portrayal of Laurie Strode in this movie. She is strong, even though she's, as I said, unstable and mentally ill. But, which is funny because I don't think she's that great of a character in John Carpenter's Halloween. But I think that they actually do a really good job in David Gordon Green's Halloween of making her a good final girl, which I don't think she ever was in the past. I think she was fine. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that movie. I don't know if there's still confusion about that, to be honest. I just know that back in the day there was, where everyone was like up in arms about the fact that they retconned that, and now it doesn't make any sense that the Shape is hunting Laurie. Fuck you. It does make sense. He's not hunting her. Okay, and then we have Halloween Kills, the next film in the series. This movie is not a beloved film. And look, I understand. I get it. Evil Dies Tonight is stupid. It's dumb. Why did they do that? This whole weird mob justice sub-story within the greater Halloween Kills story. Maybe they were trying to just add a little something to the Halloween formula. I don't care. It was bad. It was bad. And it doesn't make any sense that this mob is going after Mr. Tully, who's like this, just like this little guy, just like 5'7", geriatric, and they're like, "Evil dies tonight," and he's like huddled in a corner in the fetal position, crying, just sobbing to himself. Like, what do you mean evil dies tonight? Because I understand it's supposed to be about the dangers of mob justice and how, things can get confused and it's blinding, and once you're in it, and just stop though. It was bad. It was really bad, really poorly executed. I didn't believe for even a second that they could have thought that was Michael Myers, notorious serial killer, when he's like 2 feet taller than Warwick Davis. Get out of my face, dude. So yes, that whole segment is very stupid. However, I think that there is some really good stuff in Halloween Kills. The kills. I will say that all 3 of these movies, or at least Halloween and Halloween Kills, do way too much in the comedy side of things. Like in the first movie when Julian is running away from Michael, and Michael pops up in his closet and he goes, "Oh shit!" And like it's supposed to be funny, and then he runs down the stairs and Dave's like, "What's going on, little dude?" And he's like, "You're gonna die, Dave." Horrible. It's horrible. Why did you decide to make... And then she like, oh my god, she slips and she makes a huh sound when she slips, and it's funny, and I just... Why did we decide to do that? Because there's no way that it was just so unintentionally bad that it was funny. I think that's a little bit of It 2017 syndrome. I think that when It came out, it really inspired a lot of other movies to do the whole comedy thing interjected into a serious horror film that would not otherwise be a horror comedy. And I don't think it's a good thing. It happens in a lot of movies. These movies definitely have a fair bit of that, though. That's like these movies to a T. Halloween Kills, you have that stupid scene. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's kind of funny when she has the Desert Eagle and she gets out of... The chick that's dressed like a nurse has a Desert Eagle, and she gets out of the car and Michael like hits her with the car door or something, and it just like pops back around and blows her head off. Kind of funny, but that's a little over the top, a little too comedic for my taste. And there are other scenes in these movies that definitely go that direction that I'm not a fan of. But I will say in Halloween Kills, I really like the kills. I really like some of the legacy people to come back, and again, the score's good. There's nothing that stands out like The Shape Hunts Allison. That will forever and always be the best. I love the firefighter scene. It is so good. It is so good. Great, great, great Michael Myers rampage. And I don't know if you recall correctly, but there was like this whole petition to get that taken out of the movie because people were mad Michael was killing first responders. Oh, boo-hoo. Look at my bleeding heart. I bleed for firefighters getting killed by a fictional serial killer. Kiss my ass, dude. Boo-dee-hoo-dee-hoo. Michael Myers is fictional. The events are fictional. What are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing, buddy? That's ridiculous. You started a petition over that? Cry me a river, Susan. Okay. Anyway, that's an awesome scene. Is that really all I like about this movie? I do like the finale where they're all fucking Michael Myers up and he just keeps getting back up and keeps getting back up. And to a certain point, you're like, oh, this motherfucker's supernatural. That answers the question once and for all. He is supernatural. And at the end of the movie, of course, you have his great breathing, which people are of two minds of this, okay? I'm a fan service guy sometimes. Sometimes I find it cringy, others I don't. And this is one that I didn't find cringy. I don't hate fan service. Look, I'm a fan. I like to be serviced. Pause. Tell your mom she's still my one and only. But yeah, I am a fan, and I like fan service. So the breathing at the end to let us know Michael will be back for a third installment was, yeah, it was awesome. I liked it. And then Halloween Ends. Listen, Halloween Ends is the biggest steaming pile of dog shit I have ever seen in my entire life. That might be slight hyperbole, but honestly not by much. Genuinely not by much. Halloween Ends sucks. And I have no idea how you go from Halloween to Halloween Kills, which is a big step down from Halloween, but is still a pretty fun slasher movie. And then you get Halloween Ends, which is like the worst thing in the world. And what's funny is I've thought about it. I've thought about it since seeing the film, and I've only ever seen it the one time because goddamn does it suck. But I have thought about it since seeing the film, and I actually have slightly grown to the idea of the evil transferring from Michael into somebody else. But in Halloween Ends, it is done so horribly that it's laughable. Michael Myers gets his ass beat by someone who the evil is not currently inhabiting, by the way. It's not doing that. He's just beating old man Michael Myers down in a sewer just because he feels like it. Little, like, 20-year-old Corey. Dude, screw you. Screw this whole movie. But, like, that's so disrespectful. He's just kicking the crap out of Michael. He's kicking the crap out of the Shape, this character that's supposed to be this grand mystery, and it's just showing him get pummeled in a sewer by some prissy punk. And then you also have that really stupid Avengers Assemble sequence with Michael and Corey going on a killing spree together, where they may as well have been holding hands, skipping through a meadow with knives in one hand and each other's hand in the other, going, I can't see me loving nobody but you. It was horrible. That was completely horrible. And why? If your excuse is the evil is transferring from Michael to Corey, why then, pray tell, is Corey killing people? And sure, you could be like, oh, but the evil's influencing him. Oh, well, maybe he was a little evil in the first place. My God. And then why does Allison go for Corey? Why? It is the most forced, fucking disgusting romance I've ever seen in any movie. It's icky. It makes my soul cringe. It retracts my wiener so far into my body that it pops out my butt. And wow, it's not great, buddy. She has no reason to go for this guy other than we can go back to the theme of fate, sure. Why are they fated to be together, though? If you follow that thematic connection to its conclusion, why is it fated that they're together? There's no real reason other than, I suppose, oh, well, the evil possesses Corey, so that intrinsically links her with Michael Myers again. I don't care. That's not a good excuse. It's just not. And then you have that... Why did I praise that the first time I watched this movie? You have that horrible shot of... It's not like a bad-looking shot, but it's just like sitcom gobbledygook, where she's like leaning her head on the back of... on Corey's back while he's riding a motorcycle. Who cares about this stupid forced love story in the middle of the Halloween movie? Holy hell, it sucks. And then you have something actually cool, which, gee golly gosh, thanks movie. Finally, where Michael gets thrown into a wood chipper, which I think is like a perfect way. If you're going to kill off one of these big, like, immortal, unstoppable killers, wood chipper. Awesome. Yeah, fantastic. I never want to see David Gordon Green touch another horror franchise, and he already touched The Exorcist, and I heard that he touched it in all kinds of ways, all kinds of not great ways, and I probably will never watch The Exorcist, Believer, because I heard it wasn't good. So anyway, alright, I think the fire's died a little bit. I think it's starting to quell. We're okay. We'll circle back to that later. Hopefully not this video, but I think that sometime in the future I will once again go absolutely goddamn ballistic about Halloween Ends, because I can't seem to stop doing it. I can't. I'm sorry that you are going, if you watch these videos frequently, which let's be honest, who's doing that? What's wrong with your life that you don't got nothing better to do? Look, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to insult my audience. Audience, right. Thank you, is what I'm trying to say. You are great friend to Sergey. Anyway, the next, that's right. I'm sorry you're gonna have to hear me rant about Halloween Ends so many times. It'll happen again in the future. I'm not that sorry. Terrifier. Okay, listen. I know it's not going to be a trilogy, but as of now, it is a trilogy. I love the Terrifier series, and I am of the opinion that this series is the reason that we got such an uptick in slasher films. Terrifier 1 came out in 2016, and after that, gee golly gosh, what happened? Scream 5 came out after Terrifier 1. Out of nowhere, just out of the blue. Crazy how that happens. Halloween comes out 2 years later, and it has a jack-o'-lantern head, just like in Terrifier. Dice Reloaded comes out in 2024, the most egregious ripoff film ever made, and it's a Terrifier ripoff. Hard Eyes comes out, and Hard Eyes harkens back to kind of like the 90s sort of slasher movie, like almost I don't know, it almost felt kind of urban legend-esque, but without so much of a mystery element, though there is a small mystery element in that film. But then gore ramped up to 11. I really, really am of the opinion that Terrifier, and I mean, even when you look at like gory horror, it has had such, like, gorehounds have had a lot to sink their teeth into with When Evil Lurks. Not a slasher film, a possession film that is just gory as shit. The Sadness, again, an infection / zombie type of film, which is just gory as shit. I really think that Terrifier did something for horror, and people can either love that or hate that. I love it. I'm a gorehound when it comes to horror movies, so that's where I stand on this franchise. And Terrifier 1 and 2 are two of my favorite horror films of all time. And I mean that they are my two favorite horror films of all time. So in order for you to understand why, I think it's important that I give a little bit of backstory. So Terrifier 1, I had asked my mom for when it came out. I wanted it so bad because I had seen, I want to make very clear, I was 17 at the time, okay? I wasn't like 23 asking my mom for a new Blu-ray. I was like 16 or 17. I want to say I was 17. And I asked for it for my birthday because she asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I said, you don't have to give me anything else, but out of everything in the whole world, I want a copy of Terrifier. And that was because a couple of years prior, I had seen All Hallows Eve. And All Hallows Eve scared the hell out of me. When I first saw All Hallows Eve, it made me feel very icky. I was like 15 or 14 when I first saw that movie. And I just remember seeing Art the Clown and going, this would make such an amazing slasher villain. And lo and behold, a couple of years later, I see rumblings online about it. I see images of Art the Clown from a new project, and I'm like, oh my God, is it happening? And I go and I look, and it's happening. It's real. They're making a slasher movie with the same character that I felt like I just like 40 chest life right there. I was like, God listened. I would like $1 million, please. He didn't listen to that one, and so I worked at a sawmill. But in that moment, it had felt like the clouds parted and the heavens light shined upon me. Oh, and there it was, Terrifier. And I watched it, and I adored it. Um, it was everything I wanted and more, because I was so scared that it was going to be one of these movies with such boring kills, non-impressive special effects. I was worried Art the Clown was going to be the only interesting thing about the movie, and it delivered in exactly what I wanted. It was based on Halloween. It was based on Halloween night, and there were dead leaves and Halloween costumes, and they had that great radio ad with the "Hello Boils and Ghouls" or whatever it was, with the Craven's Halloween Superstore. I loved that. Just very charming. I loved the pizza shop in the movie, as something as stupid and simple as that little pizza shop just gave it some charm and some character. And the kills, of course, are incredible. Some of my favorite kills of all time are in Terrifier. Just amazing kills, amazing practical effects. And then, of course, they changed Art the Clown's actor, which I wasn't sure about at first when I had heard that initially. It changed from Mike Gianelli to David Howard Thornton. And then you watch it and you realize David Howard Thornton is the man. He is everything that you could have ever wanted from a portrayal of this character. He's so good. And you have you even have like the final girl characters, the victims, I suppose, really. And I liked them. They're not great actresses, and they didn't act all that well, but they also weren't as terrible as I heard a lot of people say that they were. And I thought that they were pretty good, actually, especially for what I was expecting, because I had no idea what to expect. I just thought this was going to be like, I thought it was going to be like 100 Tears, which, if you don't know, 100 Tears is a terrible movie. The only good thing about it is, like, the kills. And I thought that it was going to essentially be, only good thing is Art the Clown, and it proved me so wrong. I believe I watched it twice in the same day, and I watched it so much after that. I've seen it upwards of 20 times at this point. I think 25 times or so. I love Terrifier. It is the easiest little, I'm in the mood for a horror movie, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch 85 minutes of absolute slasher bliss. And that is my opinion on that movie. Terrifier 2. What's funny is I wasn't huge on Terrifier 2 when it came out. I actually was kind of iffy on it. And I think mostly it was because I was being distracted. There were two reasons. I went to go see it in theaters, and there was a woman that sat sort of near me, and she would just howl with laughter every time Art the Clown would kill somebody. And I was like, what are we doing here, bud? Why are we treating this like it's a comedy? Like, I understand that these movies definitely have some funny elements to them, and Art the Clown's a little rascal, and like, he is funny sometimes. But when he's hacking someone to pieces, I'm not looking for you to be my laugh track, buddy. All right, go sit in a showing of the George Lopez TV show, and you can laugh at the jokes in there instead of laughing at this person get butchered. That doesn't make any sense to me, and it kind of ruined my experience, but also the theater was very hot, and I was very tired. I had gotten terrible sleep the night before. And like I said, I was very hot. So I was iffy on this movie after the first showing. I went back and rewatched it, and I was so totally sold. I could not love... I think Terrifier 2 might be my favorite horror movie. I could not love this movie anymore if I tried. It has one of my favorite poster arts of all time, potentially my favorite horror poster art, where Art the Clown is up in the dark October sky with his horn and a knife, and you have all the beautiful fall leaves falling, and then you have this mountain of ignited jack-o'-lanterns with Sienna doing her sword thing on top of the jack-o'-lanterns. It is such a gorgeous poster with such vibrant, beautiful colors. I want that poster in here. I just don't have it yet, and I will eventually, because I I love it. That is my, yeah, you know what? That's my favorite horror poster of all time. Maybe my favorite poster. Um, I love it so much. And then we have, of course, Sienna, who is such an upgrade of a final girl. I think all the characters in this movie are very amusing to watch. I really enjoy being around the characters in this movie. Brooke is kind of a bitch, but like, you know, she's just like a flawed person, you know. The mom, another great example of this. Oh my god, there's something so great I'm going to touch on in Terrifier 3. I love it so much. And the kills in this movie obviously even ramp it up from Terrifier 1. The Halloweeny atmosphere, you just, oh yeah, just the cream rises to the top. Ooh yeah. And God, yeah, the Halloweeny atmosphere is ramped up to 11 in Terrifier 2. And I love that. I love this whole movie, and we're going to move on to Terrifier 3. This is a great Christmas slasher movie. To me, the kills got a little too tortury for my liking. It got a little too hostile-ish. I don't think that's where Terrifier does best. I think that it's great that you have these big, gory, elaborate, crazy kills. You don't need to be hostile, though, and I think that Terrifier 3 sort of tries to make every kill like that, and it comes off as a little hostile-ish. And that's an issue I do ultimately have with this movie. But one thing that I was going to say about this movie that I thought of when I was talking about Terrifier 2 was is in terms of the character, Sienna does this great thing. Lauren Lavera is actually a legitimately very, very good actress. And she does this great thing where she is now traumatized from the events of Terrifier 2, much like her mother was from losing her husband pre-Terrifier 2. And her mother was a very bitter woman, and she would yell a lot. She was kind of an alcoholic, and she was very angry. And presumably a lot of that came from the trauma of having to raise two kids on her own, and her husband's grisly death in that car accident. And Lauren Lavera does Sienna's mother's voice sometimes when she's like cracking, when she and it's so good, the duality of it. There are two scenes with that specifically. One where she's yelling at this podcaster, and she's like, "You're leeches. Can't you just be a human being for one fucking second?" And she slams her hand down on the table, and it sounds just like Sienna's mother from the first movie when she's yelling at her kids. But then the other scene, which is the beautiful, as I said, duality of that performance. It also shows that she kind of picked up some of her mother's motherly instinct in the end of the film when they have the little girl, when they have her cousin, and she screams, "She's just a baby, leave her alone." And that, I could hear it coming out of the actress that plays her mother in Terrifier 2. The attention to detail, and I'm not even sure if it's intentional, but it would be a hell of a coinkydink if it wasn't, because that is like spot on. I could absolutely hear all of those vocalizations coming out of her in that movie. I love it so much. The kills in this movie are awesome. The scene in the bar is so cool. And despite the fact that this is a long movie, a longer film, no, it's not longer than Terrifier 2. My bad, my mistake. But it is longer than the first one. And despite that, this is like one of the best paced slashers ever. It is so quick. It's just like moving and moving and moving and moving and moving, and it never slows down for a second. There are like these little tiny intervals where nothing is happening. But like one of my buddies even had said this, and I was like, I think you're a little crazy. But I've gone back and rewatched it a lot since then, and Absolutely. I think that this is one of the movies that just passes by the quickest of any movie that's ever been made. In conclusion, guys, yes, this is a trilogy right now. I understand that it won't be for long. Terrifier 4 is a-coming, and it wasn't intended as a trilogy. Kiss my ass. What do you want from me, okay? I just wanted to talk about it. Well, my fiance just got home, so I'm going to stop recording this video, but those are 3 horror trilogies. I hope to catch you guys on the next one.